like to call to order the March 13th, 2025 Bucktail Realignment meeting. We're going to start with a salute to the flag and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Baldino?
Here.
Mr. Cannon?
Here. Yeah, here.
Okay,
Ms. Donahue?
Here.
Mr. Elling?
present.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Knopf?
Here.
Ms. Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Scap?
Here.
Ms. Smith? Here. 9 members present.
Okay. Do we have any hearing of visitors? Any visitors signed up? No?
No.
Okay. So, with, what is it here?
Just need a motion to approve it, correct?
Okay. Well,
I'll make a motion that we approve C1, the restructuring of the Bucktail Renova campus.
I'll second it.
Okay.
C1.
do I have a second? Jeff, you
I'll second.
seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, then,
Questions or comments?
questions? All right. And let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr.
said-
Cannon?
It's on the Bucktail.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue?
Separate meeting.
Yes.
Which number is it?
C1
There's actually an agenda.
It's a separate
of the
agenda.
Bucktail Realignment meeting.
Oh, it's on a different meeting, okay.
So, okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Elling?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Knopf?
Yes.
Ms. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Scap?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Baldino?
Yeah, yes.
9 members, yes.
Okay.
At that meeting.
Okay.
Ask for public comment.
Okay, is there any public comment on this? No, okay.
I'll make a
All right.
motion to adjourn the Bucktail Realignment meeting.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Adjourned. All right, let's move into the regular voting session now. Okay. What we're gonna do is go ahead and move forward with the SVRCS presentation.
No, Bucktail Middle School. The Bucktail
Oh.
students are here.
Oh,
How did you forget about Kevin and Martin?
and I'm looking right at them. Okay, my bad, guys. Okay. Student government reports. You guys want to go ahead and start?
Good evening. This past month has been a very successful month for Bucktail. The boys basketball team took 3rd place in districts and qualified for states. The girls team made it to the playoffs with only 7 players. That's pretty impressive. Bucktail held a pep rally to send the Bucktail basketball team to their state game. All of the students participating in competitions were recognized for what they were accomplishing. Dalton Perry placed 2nd in the PIAA Boys State Wrestling Tournament, and Kendall Wagner placed 3rd in the PIAA's Girls State Wrestling Tournament. Both students attend Bucktail. Also, congratulations to Patrick Tarntella for placing 1st in the District Wrestling Tournament. They all worked very hard to accomplish this. This previous Tuesday, Bucktail hosted the 2025 County Band Concert. It was a very successful concert with Bucktail, Central Mountain, and Sugar Valley schools participating. There was a great turnout for the concert, and we are looking forward to it taking place next year at Sugar Valley. The 2025 softball season starts March 24th with a scrimmage, and the baseball season starts on the 26th. Bucktail Senior Project Presentation Day is on March 17th. Good luck to everyone presenting. For the upcoming month, our state fossil project is now being called the Harry the Heinerton Project. This plan is being moved even farther forward on April 8th, where we will go talk on the 92.1 radio station for profiles in education, and then go talk to Robb Elementary students about our project. On April 15th, we will have state representatives come to Renovo campus to discuss starting legislation to alter history by changing our state fossil. We would like to thank Elizabeth Whitty, who has been helping us with this project. She is currently helping us with a mascot, stickers, and buttons to help promote this project. Thank you for your time.
So the board knows you each have the trifold that they developed that we're going to be taking to the legislature. It's in your blue folder. It's in your blue folder right next to you. So we'll be taking these to the legislative event tomorrow. And you all are also working on a meeting with legislators to talk to them about the project as well.
Two.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Please consider this. I'm so excited about the fossil, but if the TV station happened to be there, that would be lovely for your April meeting with the representatives.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's move on to the presentation. Okay, before you guys do start, I mean, you can go ahead and get ready. I'd like to actually announce that we had an executive session today from 5:34 to 7:53. This was for legal purposes. Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
Good evening. So, yeah, I guess I'll have to look up if let me switch this up. So my presentation today is all the things that we agreed upon. So our first step is we talk about communication between us, and Dr. Redmond and I keep the lines of communication open throughout the year. He's very good about texting me about transportation and when the school is, snow is flying and if anything else, or he'll text me if he needs to change meetings and things like that, or if he has a question. The enrollment currently K to 12. There's kindergarten, we have 34 students, and first grade we're at 36. Second grade is a little lower at 34, and third grade is 36. Fourth grade has 39 in their grade. Fifth grade has 39 and sixth grade has 39. And there are 2 classes of each with a para and a teacher in both. Middle school and high school, 7th grade is 38. 8th grade is 35. 9th grade is 38. 10th grade is 38. 11th grade is 38 and 12th grade has 30. The total enrollment currently is 474 at this point. Okay, so over the past 5 years in our agreement, our student enrollment at SVRCS is projected to stay at 475 until June of 2025. So as always, and I think I've had this on here before, but we do encourage kids to come back to the district if they decide they're unenrolling and they want to go cyber, because, you have those students that like to choose cyber. So we do say that Keystone Central offers a cyber program. Please check with them. So that's basically what that is stating. On our fiscal report, our auditor is Boyer and Ritter, and they're out of State College, and they stated that we have no findings for the 2023-24 school year. Our SVRCS funds, the governmental funds consist of the general fund and the student activities fund. There's a proprietary fund, and that's the food service fund. And the fiduciary fund is the scholarship trust fund. And our general fund balance as of June 2024 was $4,240,464. The SVRCS Board of Trustees committed the fund balance on June 18th of 2024 to capital projects, summer operating expenses, and summer payroll and benefits. The SVRCS Board of Trustees uncommitted the remaining funds of the summer payroll, summer operating expenses, and capital projects on our 11/19/2024 board meeting. Our assets. So all of the school's monetary assets are held in deposit accounts at two banks. SVRCS has invested in CDs with the First National Bank. The deposits exceed FDIC limits, but are secured by the bank's pledge of securities in accordance with Pennsylvania state law. Our budget outlook. So we do our preliminary budget in May, and then our final budget is in June. So we did get grants, the PCCD, School Mental Health and Safety Security Grants. So we have a psychologist on campus, and that is what we're using our mental health grant for. So the 70,000 of the safety and security grant is we are purchasing electronic door systems and the school security coordinator that we have on campus. And the facility report. We're currently trying to build a new maintenance building. We need a bigger maintenance building at this point for 2025-26. Slowly getting off the ground, but it's starting. Monitoring, right now, we're in the process, just beginning our, well, we're going to be ending soon, our ESSA monitoring right now. So for all the title funds and things.
Okay.
Our attendance report, it's the accuracy certification statement with the state of the average daily attendance for 23 and 24 was 92.74%. And the athletic count, I think might be a little different for the spring ones now that they're started, but this was what he was, but when I was getting ready to do this. So the golf, you can see, I don't know that I have to go through all the numbers, but we still have the same sports. Elementary and junior high volleyball, this is, I think, the second year that we're doing that. It's very active. And that's it. That's all I have for you.
Okay.
Brock, do you?
Anybody have any
Switch
questions?
Leases. Are you sure?
Thank All right. Brock Phillips, Supervisor of Curriculum and Instruction, K-12. I'm just here to share a little bit of information about the programs and interventions that we have in place in order to satisfy our previous charter agreement, our current charter agreement rather, and just share a little bit about state assessments as well and where we are and where we're headed. On the following slide, just a quick snapshot that lists out all of the different programs we currently have in place. Many of these remain unchanged from previous years. Worth noting is that because our core math program, Math in Focus, from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt has retired their native assessment suite, they have actually purchased NWEA. And so since they've retired that assessment, then we had moved into using the IXL diagnostic for our second assessment for math rather than the HMH growth measure. Aside from that, we've also added in Sunday system, Wilson Learning, very, very high marks across a number of different sources. We're seeing some pretty wonderful improvements in the students that are in that in the placement within that program right now, and are looking to expand it into a couple more classrooms in order to drive that achievement with more of our students that have the greatest needs. All right, the next couple of slides are going to cover our spring 2024 state assessment outcomes, starting with the PSSAs. For third grade, we had 40.5% of our students at or above proficiency in ELA, which was up about 10% from last year. 29.7% at above proficiency in math was down less than 1% from last year. For fourth grade, we achieved 21.1% at or above proficiency in ELA and 23.7% for math. 47.4% of our fourth graders are at or above proficiency in science. Fifth grade, we had 40.5% of our students at or above proficiency in ELA, up markedly from last year, and then 21.6% of our fifth graders at or above proficiency in math. For sixth grade, we had 22% at above proficiency in ELA and 11.4% at or above proficiency in math. Worth noting is that this year we have a new teacher in the math position for sixth grade. She's been working very closely with me, and the measures that we're seeing in our MAP results interim mid-year are showing a pretty significant improvement from the PSSA results that we had last spring. So keeping track and seeing some good results, and we're hoping for some positive outcomes here this spring. For seventh grade, 6.5% each for ELA and math proficiency. Once again, one of those areas wherever we are doing some very significant and serious restructuring of some protocols that we have in place, looking to change some programs that we're using there for core instruction, as well as just some day-to-day routines that we have in place. For eighth grade, we had 40.5% at or above proficiency in ELA, 10.8% in math, and 51.3% at or above proficiency in science. One addition that we have had for middle school as well worth mentioning is adding in supplemental intervention style periods to help to address specific skill gaps with subgroups of our students in middle school specifically. There's a marked decrease there. It's something that we generally tend to see over years is those decreases in proficiency measures. However, we've definitely noticed a little bit more than we were hoping for. And so addressing that with some changes in our protocols for our middle schoolers to give them a little bit more contact time with the skills that they need more practice with on a daily and weekly basis. In the next couple of slides, I'll address some of the information we have for Keystone exams. For Algebra 1 in the spring, we had 10.4% of our tested students coming in at or above proficiency for algebra. For biology, 17.1% of our students who took that spring biology Keystone exam scored at or above proficiency levels. For literature, we had 21.8% of our tested students scoring at or above proficiency. Before moving into the next slides, in previous conversations, we've kind of discussed how a number of our students, especially after Act 158 went into play, had self-reported having very little care to put their best effort forward in those assessments. They feel very much as though once they've satisfied the graduation requirements, that they're finished. So this is definitely some of the numbers that we see there in part for those attitudes. Gratefully, moving forward, it's looking like we're going to be addressing some of that in our charter agreement. So that way we'll be able to, not for state tests, but for some of the other assessment pieces that we have in place to be able to give students a little bit of a reprieve from some of the overassessment that maybe they feel like they're having on an annual basis if they have completed a graduation pathway. Just this week, we did also receive back the results from our winter Keystone assessments that we implemented. So although that's not included in the data that I sent over a little bit earlier, I felt it was worth sharing since we just got that since we shared this report at the end of last week. So we had, let's see here, we had 71 students who engaged in at least one Keystone exam for the winter. 13 of those students earned scores that helped to nudge them over the passing 1,500 score range, which puts us between 18 and 19% of those tested students that were able to score in a way that helped them to achieve the proficiency mark for one of the Keystone exams or more than one Keystone exam that they took. What we took notice of is that students that were able to engage in a smaller testing environment tended to do better. About 65 to 70% of those students that are in that moved over that mark were students that were in a smaller environment. And so we're actually looking to kind of change that environment for our students moving into the spring so that we can maybe capitalize on having a little bit less stress during testing in hopes that might help them to really truly show what they know.
Right.
Okay, the next couple of slides are going to show this interim mid-year MAP testing data for all of our grade levels. At this point, with the previous agreement in place, we did have, you'll notice there are quite a few, the number of seniors that you're going to see is going to be much less than the enrollment number that Tracy had read just a little bit ago, because in the current agreement, any seniors who have passed a related Keystone exam are exempted from this additional testing. But in this first slide, after the title slide for map testing, this just shows a pie chart that gives a projection for proficiency on state tests in the spring. Worth noting, as you may already see, second grade is included, although they're not assessed for PSSAs. It's just a measure that map testing gives us. So for that second grade that is not tested, it would be projected that if they had a state test that 65.6% of those students would hit the pass marks. For grade 3, where we had been projected mid-year to have 41.7% of our third graders hitting the proficiency or advanced ranges, 15.4% of fourth graders, 15.8% of fifth graders, 15.4% of sixth graders, 10.5% of seventh graders, and 11.8% of eighth graders. The earlier grades definitely a bit higher there, but we once again have been capitalizing on the data that we're getting back from those mid-year assessments, using that to drive some specific interventions and some subgroups of our students that it was evident that they required a little bit of specific attention on various standards and anchors related to the PSSAs. It's a process where I work with our teachers in order to cover the data that we're getting back from their students within their classes, and making plans to both address those gaps in upcoming instruction throughout the second half of the year, as well as to find time and to find ways to address some of those gaps in smaller groups of their students as well. So try to hit that within core instruction as well as within smaller subgroup interventions for smaller groups of our students. In the next slide, similar information for language arts. Here we see we had 65.6% of second graders that were projected to earn a proficient score or advanced. We had 58.4% of our third graders, 51.3% of fourth graders, 42.1% of fifth graders, 61.6% of our sixth graders, 35.9% of seventh grade, and 23.5% of our eighth graders projected to earn a score that is either proficient or advanced on PSSAs this spring. With these numbers being slightly elevated from our math numbers, we are still using that data in the exact same ways to help to drive addressing those gaps within core instruction in the regular classrooms, as well as in smaller subgroups within intervention periods with our students. The next couple of slides focus more on our high school levels. On the next one, we have some information about 9th through 12th grade scores, and they're broken down across those different colored bands. They're called quintiles because we're taking, the 100% of students, or maybe to the first to 99th percentile of achievement, and it's broken down in groups of essentially 20 percentile points. So in the red band, that would be lower than 21st percentile, orange 21st to 40th, and so on from there for each of those colored bands up to the 80th and above in the blue. For our 12th graders, we had 33% total of tested students at or above the grade level band. So that's anywhere from the yellow over to green and blue at that level. 47% of 11th graders are at above that proficiency level or at above that grade level, and then 68% of 10th graders and 70% of our tested 9th graders for their math map test, either on grade level or above. For the reading MAC test in the next slide, similar information for reading. We were able to measure that 31% of our seniors that were tested were at grade level or above, 38% of 11th graders, 51% of 10th graders, and 53% of our 9th graders at grade level or above. The following slide is similar information for the language MAP test, which focuses more on grammar and writing skills. So for the language test, there are not grade level norms for seniors, and so that grade level is excluded. For our 11th graders, we had 27% of the tested 11th graders at or above grade level proficiency, 59% of our 10th graders, and 58% of our 9th graders were at or above that grade level proficiency in language skills. And it's also the case in high schools in our elementary grades that our teachers are meeting with me after we've completed map testing for their students. We're reviewing the data, we're finding gaps, we're finding groups, we're finding ways to address those gaps within core instruction, as well as targeting those specific skills where students have shown a need for additional practice within our intervention programs that we use K-12. So the following slide has a lot of information. This is one that I generally tend to kind of pause at for a moment, just so everybody has a chance to kind of peruse. What this is showing is across all grade levels. You can see like the total number of growth events. So that's tested students and the test that they took. It would be the mean RIT score, which is the scale score the students earn whenever they take the map tests, standard deviation achievement percentile, and these are averages for those grade levels across all students. So comparing fall to winter in those first two groups of columns and rows there, what we can see is that in many or most cases, we have a pretty marked improvement if you were to look at the both mean RIT score as well as the achievement percentile. For me, when I look at the achievement percentile, that's the metric that tends to speak a little bit more to me. So we're looking at on average, at the beginning of our year, for example, our kindergartners were on average achieving at the 20th percentile across all similar students in the nation, whereas in the winter, on average, our kindergartners came in at the 54th percentile. Working down through those two columns, what I hope that you can take away from this is that this map testing data in most, if not just about every case, is showing an increase in those average achievement percentiles between the fall and the winter. And for us, what that's telling us is that whenever we review this data with teachers in the fall, the treatments that we put in place for our students are helping us to achieve a measured increase in the average scores that we have for our students. At this point, it's really encouraging, and it has continued to push us to kind of keep on course with what we had been doing in the hopes of really showing what our students truly know when it comes to our PSSAs and Keystones in the spring. The following slide is perhaps one of my favorites. Specifically for this year, I'm very proud to show that our blue bars are outpacing, in many cases, our yellow diamonds. What this means is that the observed growth in blue, that's the average RIT score improvement, that's the growth from fall to winter, in almost every case has exceeded what we should expect from our students at those grade levels, which is indicated by those yellow diamonds. In only just a couple of those grade levels for math, we can see that we haven't hit those averages, but for all but 10th and 11th grade, we have exceeded, and in some cases pretty greatly exceeded what was expected from our students in growth. The following slide is some similar information for our reading assessments. Once again, we can see here that in many cases, we are notching some improvements, and in some cases, some rather decent improvement, average achievement percentiles from the fall to those average achievement percentiles for the winter. What I found very interesting is then that in many of our higher high school grades, which is not where we really tend to see that much improvement, our 11th and 12th graders have really been pulling things together, and they're showing us that they are putting in their best efforts, and that they're showing what they have learned and showing what they know. So we're really proud of all of our students, specifically some that generally tend to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit partway through the year. Yep. The following slide is that similar bar chart for reading. Again, here we can see that in many cases, our students have demonstrated above average growth from fall to winter. Only in a couple of places did we not achieve those. Once again, for 12th grade, you can see that they really have done something wonderful and unexpected this year. So we're really proud of those seniors this year for that. In those lower grades, 2nd grade is where we start to implement the language assessment as well. Kindergarten and 1st grade don't engage with that. And so, it's kind of been discussed that could have been one of the reasons why 2nd grade has had a little bit of a difficult time. Between 2nd and 3rd, though, we have taken note. We've taken stock and we've put some of those improvements into place, both in core and in interventions as well, to try to regain some of that where we didn't quite hit expected growth from fall to winter. The following slide is that similar large chart, but for the language assessment. So here we can see that there are a number of grade levels we're either maintaining or we're making improvements. There are a handful of places wherever we've lost a little bit of ground. So again, here, this is where those conversations with the teachers really are key, because when we can analyze that data on a smaller level, looking at individual classrooms, we can really individualize and then target the areas of need for those students in those individual classrooms and find exactly what they need and then deliver that to them. You know, for our math and our reading assessments, we learned this year that what we have been doing is working. It's helping our students. And what we've learned for our language skills is that maybe a little bit of a different approach would help to notch the same kinds of growth in our language skills as well. Even so, we can see in the following slide that that many of our grade levels have either met or exceeded the expected growth. So although the changes in the average percentile achievement was not quite as large as with the math and reading, we can still see that in many cases we are still exceeding the expected growth per grade level. Okay. The following slide just gives a little bit of information about an intervention program that is unique to 5th and 6th grade. We have a Title I teacher that has found a wonderful implementation model for Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's Math 180. We have attempted using that at more grade levels, and after numerous years have recognized that we're not able to show the growth with other grade levels, but in 5th and 6th grade, the model that we have in place has been showing the growth that we're looking for. Yeah, for our 5th grade, we can see there that some of these numbers are a little bit higher than what we see in 6th grade. We see here school year to date, 41 topics completed, which is like an individual lesson that may take more than one day to work through. 124 lessons completed, 770 unique sessions where students are logging into the digital platform and working independently. 23 average weekly sessions for that group, 8 minutes average session duration. So they're able to get in and get the treatment they need quickly, with a total amount of time of 103, almost 104 hours spent in this program. For our 6th grade, the numbers do seem a little bit lower, and that is because of the work this teacher has been doing with our students in 5th and 6th, we've actually exited a number of our 5th graders from previous years from this intervention because their scores are showing us that they are achieving grade level norms. And so our 6th grade enrollment in the intervention is lower because of the effect that we've had here at 5th grade. So I won't spend the time reading through all the numbers there, but that is the reason why you see the 6th grade numbers a bit lower. It's due to the success that we are seeing with this program in 5th grade. Following slide, just a quick write-up about our IXL program that we're using K-12 for specific interventions and specific skill interventions. We began in 2022, 2023. We're using it in all classrooms K-12. In line with the research for efficacy from the program and third parties, we push our students to work on skills that are evidenced, skills of need evidence from their MAP tests in order to earn what they call a SMART score of at least 80. The way that the system works is students work independently on specific skills aligned to different standards. And whenever they achieve success, then they level up and earn higher scores. And then the rigor of the items gets more difficult as they go. The research indicates that with one additional skill proficient per student per week, that was associated with an expected 3.1% increase in a school's percent proficient in math and 6.2% in ELA. Mastery level is 100 SMART score, which is attained by a number of our students, but not necessarily the target that we're shooting for. I'm just trying to be a little bit more pragmatic about our practice with students. If they can hit that 100, you can see there that the expected increase is in proficiency on state tests was markedly higher there. So although we're setting the target for 80s for our student, which does correlate in the research with increases in state tests, a number of our students, specifically in elementary grades, do still take pride in getting to that 100 level. And so again, we are seeing some of the results in map testing that tell us that some of this might be working for us and helping our students to really achieve to the best of their abilities. The following slides just reiterate a point that I had made a moment ago. It's just that upon Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's acquisition of NWEA, they retired their native assessment, the growth measure. Interestingly, they do now, of course, implement map testing as the 3-time-a-year benchmark, as well as replacement decisions for other interventions as well. So kind of a double-edged sword there where we needed to shift gears and then find a second assessment tool to use. But also as kind of a vote of confidence on choosing map testing. If this company found enough value to purchase it, then that seems to lend some credence to map testing to be used as the universal screener. Okay. The following couple slides are about our core ELA program, as well as the K-6 intervention program for ELA that we use, both from Savas Learning Company. For the core programs, we have MyView Literacy for K-5, and then My Perspectives at 6th grade, since that begins their middle school suite. After that, then a little bit about our Success Maker program, which is the Tier 3 intervention for grades K-6 ELA. Because this program does not have a native assessment suite aside from just having unit assessments and other weeklies, I've pulled in some of the data that shows the projected proficiencies on PSSAs that were given by map testing here. So I'm trying to draw the connection between students working in this program and of course also with intervention programs that we're using, just some of the projected proficiencies that we are measuring in our students in the grade levels where those projections are provided in our map tests. All right, the following slide is just a snapshot of information about Success Maker, which is that K-6 intervention program for English language arts. So we have a number of students in K-6 and Tier 3 that engage in this on a daily basis, or at least a handful of times per week. Students start off in the program by conducting what they call an initial placement. Students work in the program until sufficient data has been collected where we can get an initial grade level equivalent for placement. So on average across all students, K-6 we currently have, that average for this year was set at 2.14. At the time when this report was generated, on average the students had improved to a 2.40, which was a gain of 0.27, which is just over a quarter of a year academically. Worth noting in this data is that there were a number of students that had exited the intervention program, and so their data unfortunately came through here showing very little growth since they were not in the program any longer. If anybody is interested in finding that, I can tease the data out and remove some of those students. It's just not something that, once again, is provided by that system. It's something that would have to be done by hand. The following couple of slides give beginning of year to mid-year changes in our DIBELS assessments. It's one of the programs that we use K through 8 as a kind of our secondary assessment, and it gives us some opportunities, not just for the 3 times a year benchmarking and diagnostic, but then there are also some opportunities within that program that we're exploring for the next charter agreement, looking at some progress monitoring features that they have there too. So though currently we're using the program just for those 3 times a year diagnostics, we are looking to expand our usage of the program for the near future. This following slide gives information about kindergarten and first grade. What I like about this is that at a glance, you can tell from beginning of year, which is the top bar, to mid-year in grade K, we can see that there's a decrease in the size of those red bars and a shift where we have larger size bars for the greens and blues, which indicates that we have our students that are not just staying on pace with their improvements in key literacy skills, but they're actually moving up into those higher brackets of achievement. First grade, we're seeing a similar pattern there, decrease in the size of the bars and therefore number of students that are coming in at those lower tiers, and an increase in the number of those students at those grade levels at those higher tiers. So again, not just staying on pace with where they began the year, but actually making improvements and gains to where they're coming in at a higher achievement level mid-year. So for these grade levels, it's encouraging that what we are doing is helping and that we are continuing on with a lot of those practices and those grade levels. Specifically for K1 and 2, a lot of work with those early literacy skills, equity and integrity in place at this point, and a number of the students that are in the tier 2 and tier 3 kind of engaging in some of those additional programs like Success Maker and of course Sunday System has been instrumental for our tier 3 this year. The following slide gives some information about grades 2 through 4. Here we're still seeing a similar pattern. Across the board, we are seeing some decreases in the sizes of those lower bars, which indicate a decrease in the number of students at the lower tiers of achievement. And in 4th grade, even though we do see that small increase in that red bar, we're minimizing the number of students that we have in both red and the yellow bands in order to have more of our students in the above that 50th percent mark in the blues and greens. In grades 5 and 6 on the next slide, a similar pattern, maybe not as marked of an increase, but we are still seeing increases in the number of students at those upper tiers of achievement in the mid-year data versus the beginning of year data. The following slide just gives a snapshot of information about our Smart Futures program. The Smart Futures program is built in Pennsylvania for Pennsylvania teachers and students in order to get students the information they need in order to connect with opportunities for post-secondary engagement, whatever that may look like for them, as well as to come to terms with what steps are necessary for them and how they can prepare themselves to fully engage in those opportunities that they're deeming prudent for the rest of their lives. We work very closely with David Mosey, the CEO of the company. We're quite often on Zoom calls with him whenever we have any kinds of issues or whenever we are checking in about any student progress. And it's wonderful that we can have contact with the CEO of the company so that if there are any improvements that we'd like to see or changes to the way that we have our graduation portfolios managed through this program, we go right to the source and we can have him work with his Carnegie Mellon University grad students in order to program some of that. Great. It's a really, really wonderful partnership that we have, and year over year, they've made improvements as well. Specifically this year, I just recently filled in for a period for our career readiness teacher for our 11th graders. And I learned that it is no longer necessary for our students in that class to go out onto other outside websites like the Occupational Outlook Handbook, which is wonderful. That data is now housed directly in Smart Futures. So now it's a little bit simpler for our students to go and get the information that they need about, salary information for beginning earners for the careers they're choosing for themselves in whatever region of the country they would hope to explore after high school or after college. So just continually making improvements to the program, and year over year, our students are doing better and being more efficient, and are exiting high school with more robust plans for what they're going to do and how they're going to do it.
Great.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, most of our adults I see a lot of jaws kind of dropping open whenever they realize what all is available to them. A lot of our adults say things like, why didn't we have something like this whenever we were in school? This would have been super helpful. So I'm just very pleased to have this opportunity to guide our students through a lot of that legwork so that they truly are prepared. The following slide, just a little bit of information about our career readiness class. I kind of spoke to this a moment ago, and so I don't want to just talk through my slide here. But the class does culminate in having our graduation portfolios complete. Every activity and artifact is in place after 11th grade. All of our 11th graders complete this course. Graduation portfolios are ready to go and ready to present at that point in time. And so senior year is really just about tying up loose ends and making sure that they're prepared to finish up and get ready for the next phase of their lives. A couple of highlights here to wrap things up. This year, we do have 19 students engaging in advanced placement classes. And currently, just this past week, or just last week, ensured that I had the correct figures here. And across those 19 students, they'll be taking 28 different advanced placement exams. So in most cases, when we have a student in an AP class, they're going to be taking more than one, and they're taking more than one exam. So numbers have been increasing, and they continue to do so. And we're looking at, from everything that we're gathering in those classes right now, with a lot of the constructed response practices and practice exams, we're seeing some pretty good results from our students, and are pretty hopeful that we're going to be earning some scores that are going to result in some college credit. Moving on. Final slide here is just a snapshot that summarizes the different curriculum and intervention programs currently in place. Just a summary of what was on that initial slide. So just I'll leave everything out there. All right, and that brings me to the conclusion of my presentation.
All right, I'd actually like to ask a couple questions at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so whenever I start looking at the PSSAs, okay, in order to pass the PSSAs and Keystones, you have to be proficient, not basic, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so I'm just looking at these here, and it appears that whenever you go down through, like third grade, okay, you're doing okay there. But then whenever we get to fourth grade, the proficient and advanced in which they pass, you have low numbers. However, I mean, the basic, you have decent numbers there, but that doesn't mean that they're passing it.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you have the below basic numbers in there too. So, then you keep going to, fifth grade. Fifth grade, your ELA, you got more kids moving up to the basic or the proficient. However, you get to the mathematics again. We look at that, and it's like what, 78% of your students are not proficient in math. Okay. Sixth grade, we're looking at the same thing here. Okay. Then we get to seventh grade, and what's going on in seventh grade that you don't have? I mean, you seem to have higher numbers whenever they were younger, but once you get older, the older they get, they're not meeting the proficiency level.
That's true.
What's going on there? Can you explain that?
Yeah. In just like in most cases, there are a number of factors that play into things like this. I mean, we expect a slide, but not quite like this. You're right saying that. In a number of cases, what's hidden by this data is how close a number of our students were. And so I wish that I'd prepared enough information to show you a little bit more about that, because we have a number of our students that are in that basic bar. In a lot of cases, they might call these students the bubble students, because they're literally right there on that edge, wherever if something would have been a little bit different for them, a couple of guesses correct, a little bit more attention to one or two things, they could have been there. And so there are a number of students that are getting so close to that line, and they're just not quite there. Certainly, there are some things happening with our instructional programs when they hit middle school. Certainly, there are some things that happen with attitudes as well. But looking to our future, there are a number of changes that we're going to be implementing in order to address that. Before I get to that point, I do just want to point out that the map testing data that we're showing here is clearly showing a different picture than what the PSSAs are showing. And so that was a huge flag that drew our attention to why that could possibly be. How is it that our students are able to show proficiency and to have these wonderful projections in map testing, and that's translating into our PSSAs? That's problematic. And so that's where I've spent a lot of hours going back through the design of the PSSAs and thinking about what's wrong here. It's no real secret across most states across the Commonwealth, whenever we've gone to computer-based assessments, there have been marked decreases. Taking a test on a computer certainly poses additional challenges that go beyond just instruction. We see that even in local assessments. We're taking our chapter tests. We've actually moved to having our students start with a paper-based version, and then they enter that information in on the computer because we were getting some really strange results whenever students were just testing on a computer. Unfortunately, that's not an option when it comes to PSSAs. The answer there for right now is removing that barrier by getting students to engage with what's called the DRC tools training. It gives students a look ahead to be able to remove some of the barrier the computer poses to students, because we can see from our map data the students know quite a bit more than what PSSAs are showing. At the very least, if they can have a look at what the PSSAs are going to look like, we can give them, put some concerted effort into having teachers knowledgeable enough to guide students through how to interact with those different items that are very different from the other assessments we're taking. That alone, even before looking at instruction, we're hoping that that concerted effort is going to help our students to be able to demonstrate the kind of proficiency that we know that they have on the PSSAs as well. I'm not trying to say that it's just about readiness in computers, because that's clearly not the whole picture.
Okay, so now going down to the map data that you have here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the map projected proficiency report for math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and whenever I look at this, I'm looking at 23, 24% that are in the proficient and advanced.
Mhm.
However, you look at your basic and you're looking at 60, 75% that are not meeting that
Mhm.
level. So, I mean, you're touting the map stuff, but at the same time, we're still looking at, that 75% roughly that are not meeting the requirements.
Mhm.
What are we looking at for getting this corrected?
No,
I'm
absolutely.
just curious.
Yeah. And so for both ELA and math, there are some things we're looking at right now. Looking at changes not just to test readiness, but to the programs that we're implementing, as well as the structure of those classes. At this point in time, specifically for our math programs, for middle school, moving into the future, we're going to be making some pretty serious modifications to the instructional routines that we have. Contact time with the math content, ensuring that we're using our instructional minutes efficiently in the classrooms. We know the programs we have are solid, but clearly the students are not getting the appropriate amount of practice with the skills that they need to be proficient here. You're absolutely right. So this is where I'm getting much more involved in classrooms moving forward, clearing my schedule of other duties so that I can be present and I can ensure that we're going to be staying on track with regimented routines in those classes so that we can use our instructional minutes appropriately so that we can get the contact necessary with the content to show proficiency.
Okay, isn't that where your teachers are supposed to be doing that though?
It is true, and it's my job to make sure that they are.
Yeah, just like your instructional coaches. We all have instructional coaches.
Okay, I'm just, trying to,
Yeah.
just trying.
I know.
figure things out here.
It's true.
So,
Whenever things aren't
Yeah.
right, then I intervene, and
Okay.
that's where I'm getting involved now.
all right,
I'm noticing the same things.
okay, I would, it's just, I'm a little concerned, that's all. I mean, we got that going throughout, but I've noticed that, what is it, like after fourth grade, that's whenever, because now I'm looking at the math student growth summary, where it's talking about the observed growth and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And we're seeing that, okay, in, it's fourth grade. Okay, so roughly fourth grade, K through 4, it seems, okay for the observed growth. But then you look at 5th grade, that growth seems to start going down. And even in 11th grade, you're seeing a negative in that.
Mhm.
What's that? Can you explain what's going on there?
Okay, so it's expected that as students get older, that the amount of growth they're showing is going to decrease. So although you're seeing those numbers decreasing incrementally as they get to 4th, 5th, 6th, and beyond,
Okay,
that is actually what's to be expected there. And the following slide in the presentation kind of illustrates that, the blue bars and the yellow diamonds.
okay,
So you can see in that chart that those grade levels are still exceeding the expected growth. So I guess I wanted to point that out. Now for 11th grade, yes, it is true that we do have that.
Is that
negative
whenever they
observed
get the
growth there.
attitude and say, you know what, I'm not doing this?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's not any more complicated than that. And that's why moving forward, Dr. Redmond has agreed to allow us to exempt some of those students who are completing a graduation pathway because we're not getting the effort that helps us to understand their gaps at that point. There are other ways that we can gather that information at the classroom level where map tests are not something that our students are engaging with sufficiently to give us that
Okay.
information.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Like I said, I was looking through this and I saw these different things and I'm kind of,
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So,
If I can add just one more little piece as well, maybe I'm sure the board may know a bit about this. We've discussed it. I've had conversations with Megan, as well as some other curriculum folks in other districts that are neighboring to us where we have some colleagues. Looking to not only visit myself to take a look at some programs that are being used. I mean, clearly you all are having some pretty good success with Amplify programs for ELA. If it's working for all of you, it's likely that our students would also respond to that. And so that's one of the ideas that we're currently exploring because there's more that we can be doing with our students.
okay.
And it's not just KCSD. You know, we've got some folks in some neighboring districts that are also doing some wonderful things. Trying to get myself out there, but also send some of our teachers into those classrooms so that they can get that firsthand experience of what that looks like.
All right. Butch, did you have a question or something or a statement?
Not in the presentation. I just wanted to thank you for allowing your students to participate in the County Band Fest. It was pretty phenomenal. And I like the cooperation effort between all the schools. And I suggested to Dr. Redmond, I'll suggest to you now, that I think we should look at maybe merging them together and doing like marching bands and things like that. It was really nice.
Great.
So,
Wonderful.
Okay. All right. So,
Just a comment about what Roger said about I see what he's saying as far as there seemed to be a pattern, as I think you're acknowledging it with the math scores for the PSSAs. They seem to be a pattern all the way through with the exception of a grade or two. What I would really be interested in seeing next year, if this map data and the growth that you're indicating here is reflected on your PSSAs this spring, I will be real interested to see those results from this year's test at this time next year. See if that map data is actually going to reflect increases in the PSSA scores, as if this is accurate, they should.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I mean, we're anxious to find out ourselves for sure. But with a lot of the instructional practices we have in place, I've discussed here how we're using the data, and then additionally, having a structured approach to getting students comfortable with those tools that have been so significant of a barrier to them demonstrating what they know. We think that multi-layered approach is really going to give us something that we're going to be proud to share with you here next year.
cool.
So I'm very excited about
Looking
about
forward
the
to
Yeah,
prospect.
me too.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you. Super terrific.
Very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we all already have that financial report, so we're good there.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's on the agenda.
okay, okay.
Keep going.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And now moving on, hearing of visitors. Do we have anybody signed up? Okay, committee reports, policy?
We had a real short meeting. I only discussed 3 items. That was it.
Okay.
Can I make a motion? We approve the agenda with the exception of items that need pulled. I would like to see F5, F6 pulled. F1. I believe we're gonna be pulling F2 also.
Okay.
F3, F4. H1 and H9.
Elizabeth.
So I said it would be F1, I think F2, F3, F4, F5, F6, and H1 and H9 I'd like to see pulled.
Okay,
I don't think Elizabeth.
H5 and H6.
okay. And anybody else?
Yeah, let me see if I got this right. But you wanna pull F4,
Yes.
H1,
Let's start at the beginning, F1,
F4,
F4, yes,
H1,
Mm-hmm.
yep,
H6,
no, I said H9.
No, Elizabeth called
Elizabeth
for,
said
Oh,
H-
5 and
Elizabeth
6.
called
5 and
for
6.
5 and 6.
okay,
Okay,
6, I recommend number 9,
We pulled that one.
H9, I
Okay.
already pulled that one.
I1,
Okay,
and a big question I have. On our work session, we had Mill Hall Pool, it's not on here.
Yeah.
When we had that to come up for a vote tonight, and it's not here.
Well, my understanding was there was no interest in moving forward on that.
Okay. All right, I didn't know if we still had to announce
No, we
that
didn't.
here
Still
tonight
should.
or not.
We didn't have to.
Okay. And one other question I have. H9 was not in the work session, and that must have just got added to the agenda. I recommend that one be pulled until we can investigate it and read it and look at it.
it's,
I'll talk about it
Go
when we
ahead.
get to it.
Okay,
So that's why I pulled it, it's something needs discussed.
yeah, because we haven't even had a chance to look at it. That's why I'm wondering.
that's why Butch
Okay.
pulled it.
Yeah, that's why I pulled it. I know it needs some discussion and explanation.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Tracy. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Hang on,
Or questions?
did we pull?
Let me go through the list again, Chris.
No, did we pull? Yeah, we pulled F4. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
All of F has been pulled.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. That being said, okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Scaff,
Yeah,
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino,
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
9 members, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Knopf?
Moving right along, we're gonna do F1, a settlement agreement.
Okay, I have a motion for the settlement agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Questions?
which one was that? We were talking about one and a second. Is that the first one or the second?
I'd have to look back at the previous meeting. Give me just a moment.
If it's a tax settlement,
That's-
it's taken 50% of the
Well,
Yeah, but which one, the small one or the big one?
The small one.
Okay. That was all. I didn't know which one we were
Yeah, it was the small.
Yeah.
agreeing on.
All right. So. All right. All right. So get a roll call vote on that?
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
yes.
Mr. Scaff,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino?
No.
You said no.
No.
Mr. Cannon?
No.
Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
2 noes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Okay,
7.
motion passes.
I'd like to make the motion that we move forward with the agreement with the Sugar Valley Rural Charter School.
It's up to you. It's what we decided on exactly.
Okay, so, all right. Okay, so I have a motion. Do I need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
If I may, part of that is, the board needs to set a date for the official, hearing to approve the renewal of the charter. So I've recommended 3 days on there. State law requires a 30-day prior notice before, doing that hearing. So just kind of looking at the head of the calendar, along with this decision, the board needs to decide when it's going to meet for that charter renewal hearing. So 14th, 15th, or 17th, or what I recommended in April, but it's up to the board when they want to meet about that.
Okay,
It could just be a Zoom, just,
It has to be a public hearing.
oh, the public hearing. I'm so sorry. I misunderstood. My fault. Yep. public.
so what are we looking at now?
14, 15, or 17. So I just need to rearrange from saying it's on the 16th if you'd rather do it then, but that week of April is the soonest you could do it based on 30-day notice.
We have to approve this first.
Yes.
So that's that we'll have to make an addendum to the agenda for the date, or is it just?
No, you can just give me that. We can do a consensus on what date works and we'll get it advertised.
The 17th? That's another Thursday. Would that work for everybody?
I don't know.
Why don't we pass the thing first before we decide when we're gonna have the meeting on it?
17th won't work.
10, we're
Yeah,
doing it the
that's
right way.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor and a
Go
second.
ahead. Okay, motion's on the floor. All right,
Can I have a point of clarification before we vote? That is the most recent
The agreement that we discussed in
earlier this
yes,
year.
earlier this evening.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Roger, can I say something?
Chris?
I just want to say that, this is an agreement by the board, not by the ad hoc committee. So the recommendation from the ad hoc committee, the board is overruling. So when the vote happens, I just want that known.
Okay. All right, so roll call vote, please. Hmm?
I thought we were still discussing it.
Oh, okay.
What date was it also?
I agree with Chris that it should be emphasized that what is coming up for a vote was not the recommendation of the committee. And I think that we're intruding ourselves into something that we shouldn't be doing.
Okay. Elizabeth, you
Oh,
got anything?
no, I know how I'm gonna vote. Thank you.
Okay. All right, anybody else have a comment? All right, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Knopf?
Yes.
Ms. Lynch?
No,
Mr. Scaff?
No.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Baldino?
No,
Mr. Cannon?
No.
Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Elling?
Yes.
Five yeses, 4 noes.
Motion passes. Okay,
I'd next like to make a motion that we approve the CIU 10 general operating budget.
Second.
okay, discussion.
I have one
Questions?
comment that everyone should have had a blue
Mhm.
folder. There's a form in there that we have to sign. If this passes, how you vote, we have to turn those in to Christine tonight.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Is there any reason why we would vote no for this? I mean, I
No,
can't imagine.
No.
Okay, so there's nothing, okay.
it's, It's
It's a
yeah,
It-
a formality that we have to go through. Yeah.
Okay.
all the districts in the IU are asked to approve this. It is usually just a formality because it really doesn't cost the
No.
district anything. The only thing that we pay for is any of the services that we would purchase from the intermediate.
Well, 'cause I've never heard of no, so I've just, all
Right.
these years, I'm like, okay, thank you.
Okay, good? Okay. For this one, let's just do a voice vote. I agree, Butch. All right. All those in favor of approving this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All
Hey.
right. Motion passes.
I oppose to it, but go ahead, keep going.
Okay,
We have one.
we got
person
one opposed.
in 20 years.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Next. Butch?
Give me a second. Next up would be F4, authorize the superintendent to fill vacancies of existing support staff positions.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth, you were.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay. I have absolutely no idea where this came from. We all want the superintendent to have a lot of flexibility so they can run the school district as needed. But this is everyone who's working here except for teachers and directors. So, now if there's a high turnover rate in a certain category, like housekeeping or food services, then maybe why is there a high turnover? So we don't have to keep hiring and releasing people all the time. But this is unprecedented. I can't imagine that our school is going to fall apart because any of these positions aren't getting filled that particular day. And I'll be honest with you, I think our board's always been real flexible. If we're ever needed for a special meeting or a quick vote, I don't remember any of us having a problem getting together, even if just through Zoom, just to do a quick vote.
Okay, Elizabeth, I mean, I hear what you're saying, okay? However, right now, we need to keep it on the topic of whether we're authorizing him to do this, okay?
Well, that's what
I
I'm saying.
understand, I understand that, you know, you don't like this. I mean, that's the way I'm understanding it, but, okay, we need to.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's reasoning and objective thinking that this is not needed.
Okay. Does anybody else have discussion? Chris?
I disagree with this. Nobody should have the authorization just to hire at will as they want. Especially, we do not have a current nepotism policy in place. So
Actually,
we could be,
we do.
well, no, the one we have is not sufficient. Okay? You compare it to school districts around us, we need to have a new policy on that. And I disagree with giving anybody the authority to just hire at will. That is not being prudent to the taxpayers.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Just a quick question. It is just to fill current vacancies, correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
I think mainly the point of this is not that Dr. Redmond's going to be hiring willy-nilly. The thing is, I think mainly this is to help in the areas when we say support staff. I think the problem area is mainly in the maintenance area. If I'm not maintenance and
culinary.
custodian and so on.
And cafeteria.
And those main areas, there's a huge turnover, and it's not that we're releasing people. There's just turnover. That's hard to keep them in the positions. And Sam's probably, and the cafeteria people are the ones that are are shorthanded all the time. And if you think we're going to have a special meeting every time that we have to hire a custodian, you're mistaken, because I think that's ridiculous. If you don't have any more trust in your superintendent than that, then we got a problem.
Then we
I
have a
think that
problem.
he should have the authority to do it, and I don't think he's going to abuse that. I really highly doubt that he was going to abuse the situation. But Sam's the guy, and the cafeteria people are the ones that are short-staffed right now, and we're not getting things done because of that. So that's the whole point behind this.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Tom.
So are we in need of a person right now today?
We have, yeah, we have one person that we've had to ask to wait almost a month, just
Okay, so-
because of when the opening came up, and when the board meeting was. So we wanted to move forward. We would like to offer the person a job, but because we were waiting for the board meeting. And quite honestly, I can't remember if it's in custodial or cafeteria off the top of my head. But I know
So
that
we had a meeting last week. We have a meeting tonight. Why wasn't it brought up to hire this person at either one of these meetings?
it's on the personnel agenda.
And then,
And we can't vote during a work session.
and we also only have 2 months left to this school year. Are we in that need of people that we need to start hiring a bunch of people in the next 2 months?
Well, I don't know that I would characterize it as a bunch of people, but when we have a custodian that leaves, we still have the need to have those areas cleaned and maintained.
Okay, so that's normally at least a minimum of 2 weeks' notice, correct?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. I mean, the school year, there's not much left of the school year. I don't know that we have to have that many places filled, that it needs to be outside of a meeting, especially with 2 months remaining in the school year. I just I cannot believe that there's going to be a vacancy that is that dire that it needs to be, it needs to happen, and it can't take place at a monthly meeting. I just don't believe that there's any position in that school district that cannot wait till the next meeting pops up.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Okay. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Scott?
She said me.
Mhm.
Mr.
Yeah,
Scott,
no.
I'm sorry.
No.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Baldino?
No.
Mr. Cannon? Mr.
Did you
Cannon?
hear me?
We do now, yes.
Okay, I said no.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Elling?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Knopf?
Yes.
Ms. Lynch?
No.
Five yeses and 4 noes.
Motion passes. Okay, Mr. Knopf.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to remove F5 and F6 from the
Second.
agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Chris just did.
Okay, thank you. A motion and a second. Comments? Okay, do a roll call or a voice vote in this one. All right, all in favor of pulling them? Aye, opposed? Okay. Next,
Make a motion, we approve each one of the bills for payment.
okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, my name is still spelled wrong on it. I emailed about it. And, this was about the issue of me getting a fictitious check. And, my name was spelled correctly on the check, but it's not now. I emailed about it. It's not been corrected yet, so.
Okay. Next. Anybody else? All right.
Oh, Butch pulled H1. Is there something else you wanted to talk about?
No, I usually do bills because I think we need a
Okay.
roll call vote for
Yeah.
bills.
So, all right. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
No.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
No,
Mr. Scott.
No, unless you change my name and make it right.
6 yeses and 3 nos.
Okay. Motion.
Let it be noted that I want my name changed on that. I'm tired of the mistake over one issue. It's ridiculous.
All right. Motion passes. Next. Mr. Knopf.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve H5.
Okay, do I have a second?
LC Marquis on.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Did we find any other prices I had sent to you?
Yeah, I know that, Mr. Hoy was looking at that. He didn't find anything, to my knowledge, that would suggest that we need to change directions on this. The numbers that you were looking at, when you compare the size of the sign and we're looking for double-sided, the cost comparison would actually turn out to be about the same.
Okay, because our sign was double-sided also.
Yeah, Sam was looking at that.
Okay.
Okay, Elizabeth.
yes, I just want to bring this up one more time, then I'll probably end up bringing it up again. This is another situation where it wasn't put out to bid and someone just got on the phone and made phone calls, and yes, that's completely legal. But this is exactly what happens. And now some of us are like, well, there's probably a lower price out there. It's just that person didn't call that particular company. So I'm voting no on this because it should have gone out for requests for proposals. And I don't understand how we're looking at potentially not getting in more funding from the state. We're looking at the farm program to help feed our kids might be going away, and we're spending $20,000 on a flashy sign. I can't justify that right now. Couple of letters on a board is fine with me. Well done board letters, just like Central Mountain High School, Mill Hall Elementary.
Okay,
Can I make?
go ahead, Butch.
They were put out for bid. We had 4 bids, if you remember, at the facilities committee.
No, he physically called individuals. They wasn't actually put out into public bid. And if I'm wrong, please refresh my memory.
Chris.
Is this gonna be a trend if we're gonna do this for Liberty Curtain? That we're gonna start doing it for the other schools also?
We have no plan to do that.
No,
Okay,
this is
then why
just-
just this?
Well, I was,
Because this here is the new school that we're building, and
Okay,
we're trying to bring everything up to modernization.
which quote here are you looking to approve? There's 2 of them.
The preferred quote is the one from, Signs. That's the one, the recommendation. is
For Signs Plus?
Yeah, Signs Plus.
Okay, because I didn't hear us say which one we were recommending.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
yeah, I fail to see why we need a fancy sign
Yeah.
for a school with 150 kids.
It's just not a good
I
time.
think
Hundred
that,
and 49
Good
kids
time.
that probably can't read it
Yeah,
anyway.
I think that, we could do with something
Really?
much more
Oh,
modest.
seriously?
Really? You just said that.
Seriously?
Yeah,
You just
That is.
demeaning the district.
I'm not
By that.
demeaning
Yes,
anybody.
yes, you
I'm
just
saying-
did.
did.
I'm saying
All right.
what you're doing is ridiculous.
That's it. Enough. Mr. Knopf. Can you go ahead, would you, please redo your motion to show that we're looking at the signs bid?
The motion for the LC marquee sign is the bid submitted by Sign Plus.
Okay, do I,
Second.
you want a second? Okay. All right, so we have the motion, amended motion and the second. Okay. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Baldino,
Are you going to do it the right way? You have to vote on the amended motion first and then
Okay.
the motion.
Okay, so this is for the amendment.
Dr. Baldino,
No.
Mr. Cannon,
No.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
No,
Mr. Scab,
No,
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
five yeses, 4 nos.
Okay, so the amended motion passes. Now, let's go to the original motion of passing the Liberty Curtain sign or marquee sign. Okay, can I get a roll call vote for that, please?
Mr. Cannon,
No.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
no,
Mr. Scab,
no,
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino.
No.
Whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4,
It's
5.
to 4.
5 yeses, 4 nos.
Motion passes. Mr. Knopf?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve H6, the Central Mountain Middle School hand dryer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
yes.
Chris?
I sent all of you an email earlier. I did some research on the hand dryers. And I asked CDC a question, are hand dryers sanitary according to the CDC? Says recently experts from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention have unequivocally stated the hand dryers are a hand drying solution and that people should make sure their dry hands are complete since germs spread more easily when hands are wet. The National Library of Medicine says, however, most studies suggest that paper towels dry hands more efficiently, remove bacteria effectively, cause less contamination of washroom environment. From a hygiene viewpoint, paper towels are superior to electric air dryers. The Cleveland Clinic, when asked the question, which is more sanitary, paper towels or air dryers? Cleveland Clinic says, in summary, hand dryers are not only spewing bacteria onto your hands, they're also putting it in the air and on all surface that air touches, promoting cross-contamination and the spread of germs. Paper towels, meanwhile, remove moisture from your hands while reducing the amount of germs that are present. Hand dryers can spread viruses and bacteria. A John Ross medical director from the Harvard Health, from Harvard University, says where bacteria multiplying inside the hand dryers were being pulled into the hand dryers from air inside the bathroom. Fecal matter, everything else, bacteria can be spread. They did a test with Petri dishes exposed to hot air from a hand dryer for 30 seconds on average, they grew 18 to 60 colonies of bacteria. But there was one brand hairdryer that drew 254 colonies of bacteria. I think with all the dealings that we have to do with sickness and everything else, I think we're just creating a germ factory.
Okay. Elizabeth?
All right, thank you. I wish I would have said something during the work session. I was talking to Dr. Redmond. There was something, I believe it was 60 Minutes, like 8 years ago, 6 years ago. Anyways, they had a whole study done on this. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to bring up another thing, but I definitely, thank you, Chris, for bringing this up because I wanted to also segue onto this. Lock Haven University, I brought this up at facilities committee meetings ever since this paper towel thing happened. Yes, we need to be responsible with what we put down the sewer line and do the best we can. But on the flip side of the coin, the hand dryers blowing everything everywhere, it's just, I don't know if it's really worth it, but it may be a compromise is just to use what LSU uses, other schools. A round paper that's perforated. The child pulls it down. You can hear it rotating, making noise, and a piece automatically breaks off. And for someone to get a whole bunch of paper towels, they would have to pull and pull and pull, and somebody would hear that continually. So bottom line, I think we should pull this. And then if we could talk about it during the facilities committee meeting, I know it's just something small, but it is pretty gross when you read the data.
Go ahead, Butch.
I'm really confused now, Elizabeth. You've been advocating for hair dryers probably hand dryers for 3 years. You've been pushing them. You told us about LAQ having them. You told us how great they were at LAQ. You told us how, I have the floor. You told us how great the hand dryers were. You've been advocating for them for years. And part of the issue was it's causing a issue with the sewer line going through Mill Hall. If kids throw the paper towels in the sewer line, it plugs it with issues. You brought that to our attention. I'm totally confused now.
They were always paper.
Elizabeth?
You've been advocating for the hand dryer for years. Now you're saying no hand dryer. I don't.
No, these
Stick
were,
with paper.
sorry.
Okay.
May I help him?
Hold on. Is there anybody else that has a comment?
I'm with you, Butch. We've heard about the paper towels in the sewer for at least 3 years. And now we want to try to address it. And now we're doing a complete about face. And I'm baffled. I mean, it's hard to keep up with it.
Okay, anybody else have any comments? Go ahead, Tom.
So you're baffled, Jeff, and I'm kind of baffled as to we made a commitment to curb our spending, and all I've heard tonight is spend. We're going to buy dryers. We're going to buy new signs. Where's the commitment to the community to curb our spending?
Okay, Chris?
I'm not going against anything. All I did was brought up a health issue that could make things worse. That's it.
Okay. All right, Elizabeth?
Thank you. For clarification, they were never electric hand dryers. They were large paper rolls that you pull down. So that way, instead of the stacked kind where you can grab a whole bunch at once. So I hope you understand they weren't the electric, it was the pull down kind.
Okay,
So
thank you.
there you have it.
All right. So with that, can I get a roll call vote, please? Oh, sorry,
So
Butch, I didn't see
voting
you.
yes is going to be approving hair dryers. Voting no.
Hand dryers, not hair dryers.
Hand dryers. I don't even have any hair. Hand dryers. Voting no is denying the hand dryers and sticking with paper towels.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, roll call?
Miss Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
No.
Miss Lynch,
No.
Mr. Scap,
No.
Miss Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino,
No.
Mr. Cannon.
No.
Motion fail.
1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 noes, 4 yeses.
Okay, motion passes.
No.
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 Motion
Or
failed.
yeah, motion failed, yeah.
So we're sticking with paper towels.
Okay, so we're sticking with paper towels.
Somebody
Okay.
should tell
Next
Mohawk
up-
Borough.
All right,
With one question on that, can we investigate the big rolls of paper towels instead of a stack?
that would be
That's what
something
we
that
have.
needs to go through
That's what we
facilities.
have right now. We have
Okay.
big rolls, we don't have the stack. That's
Oh,
in
we
all
do
of our
have
rooms.
them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Butch?
H9, the Bucktail campus stormwater drain. I can make the motion. It was recommended by Mr. Hoy that the cost is not to exceed $50,000 and the school district contractor hired not to exceed $50,000.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion. Butch?
Okay, what's basically going on? It's probably been most of a year now, we've been talking about the stormwater issue at Bucktail. There's been attempts made through the school district, the township, PennDOT and railroad, because they all have water that goes into the storm drain that goes out across Keystone Central property out to the river. What happened a week ago, we believe, when we had about 1 inch of rain, the pipe that was carrying the stormwater was eroded enough that it washed out, which took out, if you saw in the pictures, it's probably about a 40-foot section of bank, about 40-foot wide, about 30-foot deep, and about, I think it's about 30-foot high. And in doing so, we have a sewer line, it's a force main, they call it, that brings all the sewer authorities waste from North Bend area back up to the plant of Renovo. Hanging exposed to the elements, it's not buried, the bank was totally washed out.
I don't know why they put it there.
So what happens, when soon as the sewer authority was notified this was exposed, it just so happened there was a contractor there putting in a scoreboard that he's volunteering his time putting a scoreboard, and he walked over to the bank to look at it and saw, because the maintenance man at Bucktail was asked to see if they'd get a bid on putting it in. When he looked over and saw our sewer line exposed, he called this Western Clinton County Municipal Authority's wastewater operator. They came down, looked at it, and they knew nothing, it can't be exposed. If something happened to that line,
Yeah.
it would be an environmental disaster. We would be fined. I'm on the Western Clinton County Municipal Authority Board. So that's why I keep saying it's confused. I say we, the board of the Solid Waste Authority knows it has to do something immediately. So we called a meeting, the sewer authority called a meeting between the school district, the township, and the wastewater or sewer authority, township, soil conservation. We all got to put our head together trying to figure out the best way to do it. We got a bid, the sewer authority got a bid on having it repaired, not replacing the entire pipe. They're replacing about 80 foot of pipe that will bring it out to the bank, replacing the wing wall that was there, building it back up with large stones and tapering it down to a smaller stone, then planting the top piece with, putting the top piece with the dirt and planting grass over top of it. Now, the sewer authority doesn't feel it's our responsibility because the wastewater washed out our line, doesn't feel like the sewer authority should be paying the bill.
Oh, you mean
So-
the stormwater?
Stormwater washed out
Right.
the dirt. So that's why it's on here. Mr. Hoy had this put on for the 50,000. That's the price that the contractor is gonna charge to repair it. I think the last time, December maybe, they got prices. It was from another contractor. It was, I think it was around the $250,000 mark to replace the line. So. But that's, there's pictures there that show it,
Yeah.
if you need to see it, but that's what it's all about.
So this is significantly lower, a lower price
Yes,
than what we were getting
It's a fraction.
the bids.
yes.
Previously.
But we're not
250,000
doing-
versus,
But we're not doing the entire
So yeah,
job.
that's,
we're
that
not
we were gonna
replacing
do
the entire
before.
pipe. Correct.
Right.
Okay, Elizabeth?
thank you, Butch. Yeah, we've all, yeah, that's the kicker is replacing a section of pipe. Is this a quote, a temporary fix? Because what Pasella did was he got a quote for the whole line. It was like 700 feet or some astronomical number. So that's the critical wick is this a patch or is this a replacement?
It's not a replacement of the entire line. They're replacing a bit. The line is from where it looks on the riverbank, about 20 foot deep, 20 feet deep. So if it starts over at 120, it actually starts up in the hill more. It's shallow over there, dropping down to 20 feet, because you have to have the decline for the water to flow out.
Gravity.
But you're gonna be digging through all the fields. So what they talked about the other day is getting the fix now, because we have to have, the sewer authority has to have the
Pipe
sewer
cover.
line covered,
Mhm.
because they're expecting rain actually on Sunday. That's why we couldn't wait. We're afraid that if more water comes, it's gonna wash the line out. So it had to be fixed. They're gonna install 80 feet of pipe to the existing pipe, which would go inside and fix it.
Slip line it?
It's a 30-inch pipe they're gonna put inside, yes, so hook it, tie it to it. So it's gonna bring the water out past where the wing wall is, out to the river. Should avoid washing out there. Eventually, what's gonna have to happen is gonna have to be, I would assume, a camera run through it, see what's going on with the rest of the pipe, and make a plan of action after that. All I'm concerned about, or all we're concerned about now.
This is like an
getting it.
emergency thing, so.
It's an emergency. Someone had to say, do it. The Western Clinton County Municipal Authority said, do it. And then we'll figure out who has to pay for it now.
Okay.
So I know there was discussion that Chapman Township, one of the supervisors at the meeting, he's talking about trying to find money also, but he's gonna have to have a meeting. So hopefully the school district doesn't pay this entire amount. This is what the contractor said, somewhere around 40, but in extenuating circumstances, it might be more. That's where we put with 50, just to stay below that amount. We're hoping it's divided between the school district and the township, because ultimately it's their responsibility also. So,
But this is our wastewater pipe that we have to deal with.
It's a line.
It's a whole bunch of things.
yeah, I truthfully, Bill, I don't know how you would define who owns it.
All right.
It comes across our property. It comes out of our property, it goes to the river, but again, it starts over on the mountain. And
I
it comes
understand
across
what you're saying.
120, comes across Conrail's line, that comes across another property, and then hits our line and comes across. So, yeah, it's like Elizabeth said, 750, yeah, that's probably a safe guess. I would say probably closer to 850, 900 feet of line. So it needs, yeah,
It's gotta be safe.
yeah,
Yeah,
we've,
it's an emergency.
yes.
Okay, Chris?
That's the way I see it.
Back when Rob Pasella was here and Sam was just starting,
Mhm.
as an EMA management coordinator, I hooked up Dr. Redmond and Sam with Scott Kemmer from EMA. And they were up and looked at it. They had Pima up here involved in it to get emergency grant money. Has anybody followed up with that? What's happening with the emergency grant money? Cause
So my
I know
understanding is,
Pima had no problem with it.
my understanding is the school district couldn't apply for it. It would have to be the township that would apply for that emergency money.
Okay, so the township has the ability to do it.
The township was given all the information back then. The township has not pursued it, we'll put it that way,
Then we shouldn't be paying.
until now. Well,
I know it's an emergency. I understand that, but I mean,
Every time
Everything rests on our shoulders.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Well, It's it's a tough one to solve, but if it's on our property, we kind of have to. do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because of my conflict, I plan on abstaining from this vote, so I'll need a form then, Christine.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf, I'm going to skip you.
Abstain, yes.
Miss Lynch,
yes.
Mr. Scaff,
Yes, and I asked Butch to push them to follow the EMA grant.
Yeah. Yes,
Miss-
I understand.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
8 yeses and 1 abstaining.
Okay.
All right, next.
Next, I-1 personnel.
Okay, I have a motion to pass I-1 personnel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Go ahead. All right, Tracy got it. All right, discussion. Go ahead, Chris.
I think that we should curb our hiring habits for right now and actually put a hiring freeze on. We're losing kids left and right. And I think we need to look at what we're doing. We're incurring a lot of extra expense hiring all these extra people. So I would ask that the board seriously start looking at a hiring freeze till we get things settled out.
Okay. Elizabeth?
I mostly agree with Chris, but I wish the majority of the board would give a directive to our superintendent to find out why we have such a high turnover rate in some of the places and with real data. Because that in itself, we know that it costs us money. Those poor folks have to keep training people and training people and training people and training people. And then we could become less efficient and less efficient and less efficient. So I wish someday the full board would give a directive to the superintendent to look into this deeply and get real data for us and come up with potential solutions. So I do agree with Chris, but the crux of the problem is still there, though.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Well, I think the superintendent could probably tell you right now why that is, and that's a problem that we have had and will continue to have as long as we can't pay the competitive wages that they can make at Sheetz or McDonald's or Walmart or some of these other places. That's the reason you have a lot of the constant turnover. I don't think we need a super report to do that. I mean, that's the reason.
Anybody else have comments?
I went down through the list very quickly. I see we're hiring 1 2 and 10-day custodian at $14.25 an hour. I agree with Jeff. That's kind of a low amount when you can go other places and make more money. So and that's something we have to look at. We just gave them a raise a year or so ago when we worked on the contract. So I don't know what we can do to help, but that part of it's the salary. And I saw one teacher on here was a math teacher at Central Mountain High School. So that's all I saw where we were
And
hiring.
that's for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts the 21st day of the 25-26 season
And
school year. So that's not even actually anything that's going to be hired until August, I guess. So that's the only comment I had.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Chris.
The other thing I was gonna ask, and I skipped over it, is why are we approving all these changes? Most of them were happening back in January and February. That was a question I had. And to go along with Jeff and Butch, I agree that we don't pay some people some things. But before anybody would get a raise, our security officers and our police officers need a raise. We are the lowest paying security group that there is around us. Our guys right now, if you brought them to $30 an hour, that wouldn't even be upwards to where they are elsewhere.
I didn't know that.
And, oh yeah, and we have a problem gonna be when officers are leaving, we're not gonna be able to attract any other officers at what we're paying. And we're gonna have an issue, and we have issues like we did in the past here. Who you gonna call? If we're gonna talk about raises, then the security force needs to be first.
Okay,
That's all.
I appreciate that. That would be something that needs to be brought in front of the personnel committee. Go ahead, Butch.
I was just gonna say pretty much the same thing, that the people we're voting on tonight all fall under a contract. The security personnel you're talking about have individual contracts that we'll have to discuss at a later date. I think they come out, I think they run from July 1st to June 30th. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but
Yeah,
that's
'cause
something
we
have
just
to discuss.
started that contract.
Yeah, we have to start looking into that, so that's all.
Okay. All right, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Scaff,
No, because I don't understand why we're doing stuff from January.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Baldino,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon,
No.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
I would, even though it's already gone past, I wanted to make a statement, but you started voting before I got a chance to make it. If you look at all the other industries in this area, they all have high turnovers. Everybody says it has to do with the money, but when these people accept these positions, they know what their salary is. They're not leaving because of money. They're leaving because of other conditions. And that's all I got to say about that, because I experience it where I work.
Thank you, Tom. All right.
and yeses, 2 noes.
Okay, motion passes. Now-
Adjourn, I have a question.
Yeah, okay, and before we adjourn, I have a statement, so go ahead and ask your question.
I think we talked about, but I didn't put it in my calendar, so I don't know. We have the meeting, we have to schedule a meeting with Sugar Valley Rural Charter School 30 days out.
Yeah,
We
we
talked
can do
about a
that.
date. Did we agree
The
on
meeting
it?
with them is just the hearing for.
The hearing.
approval.
Yeah.
Do
You
we-
didn't
do we
decide
come up
on a
with a
date
date?
for that.
Yes, so, yeah, we need to discuss. Okay,
So what are the dates that you?
It's
are
the week of
proposing?
April 14th. The 14th, 15th and 17th are, like, any of those dates works really well. We'd have to start forcing some things around to make either that Wednesday or Friday work.
And you just need 5 people.
The
technically, so-
The 17th is a security meeting.
We can do it before that. The security
That's
meeting is
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah.
So we could do a 5:30 meeting or the meeting. I guess it's up to you how long it takes. It could be a half-hour meeting.
That's
or we
about
could
how
set up
many
for an hour.
people show up.
well, the 15th, you guys have a co-curricular meeting,
Same
correct?
thing. We could do it either
So-
before or after that as well.
I don't have that, is it?
It's
Oh, yes, I
Polly
do. I'm
and-
sorry.
I've got the 16th open, the 17th before our safety meeting. But how
Okay.
much time are we gonna need?
for charter school.
Just a vote for a charter school should not take that long.
Okay, I thought we just did that.
No, that was the agreement. So you have to have a public hearing where the board makes the official renewal of the charter.
Okay,
And we have to do a 30-day notice before the board can take that action.
I wanna do it right before the safety meeting
I would
on the
suggest
17th.
6 o'clock on the 17th.
That would work. Anybody else have any other?
Isn't the safety?
Well,
No, that's
ours is
fine.
at 6:30.
I
Oh,
can do
30th.
14th. I don't, Thank you and I are tied up on the 14th. I think.
Okay, so,
Oh, that's right. Now we are. Yeah, the 14th doesn't work. That was a change since.
Safety meeting's
I
at
wrote that.
6:30, so we should be able to be done by 6:30, couldn't we?
Depends upon how many people show up and want to talk. But, you know,
Okay.
delay this, you know, this security.
you do it
meeting would
on
be
April
backed up a
11th?
little bit, you know.
what's that?
No,
It
April
doesn't give
11th
us
is in
30 days.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when are we doing this in the 17th?
17.
I've heard the 17th at 6 o'clock.
Yep, okay, 17th, 6 o'clock.
You just
All
need
right.
5 people.
Just need 5 minutes too. I mean,
So you only need 5 people.
All right, so on the 17th at 6 o'clock PM, we're going to have that
The hearing. for
The hearing,
board To consider
yeah.
the renewal of the Sugar Valley Charter School charter.
okay.
motion to adjourn?
Before we do that, I need to make a comment. Okay. As a lot of us know, there was recently an incident at the school district where one of our officers was injured. This officer was then treated by senior Emily Ever. Emily, was part of the team who went to nationals in the Skills USA competition for the work that she did to acquire and teach about the Stop the Bleed kits. She and Officer Brian worked together very closely to do this. Emily is a trained EMT and spends half of her school day working at Geisinger. She held Todd and took care of his bleeding, and she yelled at the drivers of the ambulance who picked him up because they were planning to take him to Jersey Shore Hospital, and she wanted him taken to the Williamsport Hospital. What I would like to do is give a huge shout out to Emily and thank her for what she did and how she stepped up in a time of need. We greatly appreciate that, Emily. Thank you. Butch?
I would personally like to see her brought before the board and we can commend her personally and maybe give her a certificate of some sort of thanks.
I would 100% agree with that.
I agree with that.
Good
Okay.
idea.
Okay.
All right.
Next
We
one.
should be
Motion
real
to
after
adjourn.
her. Seriously, that's what.
So, all right.
It shows their program's paying off.
You gonna do it?
Make a motion to
There's no
adjourn.
need to go.
Okay. Motion adjourned.